Hello and welcome to my video presentation for children's literature. Today I'm going to be introducing you to 5 children's books of what I believe to be very well written and well thought out books that are meant to enlighten children about many things from biology and history to science and lifestyles. So the 5 books I'm going to introduce you to are Why You Wouldn't Want to Be a Roman Gladiator, Apollo, Island, The Story of the Galapagos, The Diary of Anne Frank, and MLK's I Have a Dream. So here we go. You wouldn't want to be a Roman gladiator. So this children's book takes a little bit of a lighter and easier side of what we know to be the deadly and dangerous Roman Empire. You start out as a barbarian. The barbarians in that Roman army get into a fight, and you're sold into slavery by the Roman Empire. You then get bought out by a rich Roman soldier, and you are taught and learned how to fight as a gladiator. The author goes into a little bit of text about how gladiators train, their weapons, and what ultimately happens before they go and fight to the death in the arena. Now, I would say that this book is meant specifically for children, probably little boys between the ages of 5 to 11, between grades 2 to 6. And I would say that just because boys like to fight. I remember when I was a kid, I would always want to be a fighter. I'd play with my toys, and fight with them, and I would always want to be a fighter. And I'm sure little boys want to do the same. I think that was a gladiator. Anyway, this book, although well illustrated, doesn't give a true background of the Roman Empire as we know it, and excludes things such as Julius Caesar and the Roman Empire as a whole. However, it is a small little bit about Roman gladiators and their possible fate in the arena, which could either lead to life or death. Now, the next book I'm about to explain is called Island, A Story of the Galapagos, written and illustrated by Jason Shin. But before we go into there, we need to get to our island. So here we go.
Oh, crocky. Here I am on this beautiful island in this beautiful jungle. Alright, so I'm not in an island and I'm not in a jungle. However, this book is about an island known as the Galapagos Islands and how it came to be, how the animals got there, and ultimately how Charles Darwin founded it and was able to give his new theory known as Darwinism to the New World. Now this book, I would say, is important for kids between the ages of 6 and 15, and that is because it is a very strong scientific book. Now this book tells children about Darwinism and about how the island formed through volcanic eruptions. And this book, I would say, is a precursor to allow kids to become a scientist. As a biology major, I love biology, and I want kids to love science as much as I do. And that's what this book is able to do. It teaches kids the fundamentals of science, the very basics of nature, and it teaches them that there's new things to be explored, just like Charles Darwin. Now this book can breed a new scientist into this world who could, in the future, change and make life-saving decisions through his science research. Now, for our next book, we have to go back to the room. So let's go. Well, here we are, back in the safety of my room, and that's what this next book is a little bit about. Safety and a room or an attic. This book is known as The Diary of Anne Frank, which is written by Anne Frank, a 12-year-old Jewish girl who spent her time hiding away during the Nazi occupation of her country in an attic with her family. Now this book is highly sensitive and probably meant for the kids, older kids, so 6th grade is where we would probably start this. And it talks about the struggles and oppression that the Jews went through during Nazi Germany. So between the years of 1940 and 1945 during World War II. Now this book is really important for children to read because it gives a little bit of history about Nazi Germany, and it also just talks about what the Jewish people went through during this time. And in my opinion, in order to prevent the history from repeating itself, people need to be taught about history. And yes, we'll learn about World War II and Nazi Germany when we get older in high school, but kids still need to know what happened, and they need to know what is right and what is wrong. And this book, from a little girl, is that she's able to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. This book is very, very sensitive material, so I do not recommend it for anybody below the ages of 6th grade. But its strength is
its ability to reach to the hearts of these kids and make them realize that this girl that was their age went through all of this, went through all the oppression, hiding in the attic for months with their family, and teach kids about the significance and importance of life. Now that we looked at a more personal and sensitive book, let's go to space, where we can learn about the moonwalk. Well, here I am in space, which is where our next book is about. So this book is called Apollo, and it's about the Apollo mission that went to space and landed on the moon in 1969. Now this book is about Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong's journey to the moon and what it took to get them there. So it's going to have a little bit before about how they built the rockets, a little bit about what they did when they landed on the moon, and a little bit what happened after, such as when they got back home to Earth. Now, this book is meant for kids between the ages of probably 10 and 12, so probably fourth through sixth grade. And the reason is because, and this is probably its weakness, is that it's kind of a very detailed and more of a scientific book again. It does give a lot of detail about what went into the program, what went into the rocket ships, and its vocabulary is a little bit bigger. So that's what I would say is one of its weaknesses. So it's not really meant for kids younger than fourth grade. But one of its strong points is that its illustrations are very detailed again, and it helps kids, picture and imagine what went on into these and what went into these moonwalk. And everybody wants to be an astronaut when they're kids. I know I wanted to, and everybody wants to get to space. And even now, I would love to walk to space, even though I am in space. But this book is very well written again, and it just helps build the scientific background for kids. We already went through one book that talked about biology, but this one talks about the future, space, the final frontier. But again, this book is really well written, and I really enjoyed this book, and I recommend it to all the kids between the ages and grades of 4th to 6th grade and ages between 9 to 12, 8 to 12. So now we went into our science books. Let's look a little bit more about our history books. It's always been a dream of mine to go to space, and that's what this last and final book is about, dreams. In fact, it's about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream and his speech, I Have a Dream. Now this book is a compiled works of his speeches, but most famous is I Have a Dream speech. Now I think it's important for kids these days to read that speech and understand what the purpose of it was. Now it's a very kind of detailed, very intricate work, and it has big vocabulary. So I would say it's between kids for 5th and 6th grade, between the ages of 10 and 12. This book is important for kids to realize that there was a time in this nation that everybody is separated. Even now, there's still separation between races, gender, anything and everything that people could find a reason for. So this book is able to teach the younger generation how to avoid that, how to come together as children, as people, as individuals, that separation is not good and healthy for a growing child, nation, whatever it is. So this book and these speeches are not only pertain to black and whites as Dr. King, as people who read it might see it, but it's meant for the intention of unity between all. So it could be between, the races of black and whites, Mexicans, Dominicans, Asian, any of them and all. It could also be between cliques. There's cliques in middle school, cliques in high school, cliques in elementary school, and these cliques could be jocks, nerds, goths, whatever they may have now. So that this book and these speeches are intended to unify these kids and look past the borders of anything. And these kids need to come together and realize that they're all human beings, and that's what they have in common. And they should treat each other like human beings. And that's what this book is intended for. And these speeches are intended for, and what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. intended for. So this book and these speeches are important for children to read, so that way they learn these attributes and are able to put them in their everyday lives, so that way our future is not separated but unified together. Well, that's all 5 of my books. Thank you for watching. Today you learned in my video about the 5 books that I chose that are ranged between the ages of 6 to all the way to 12, and the grades of 1 through 6. The first grade book being Why Not to Be a Gladiator, and the last books that would be for higher education for 5th and 6th grade students would be the Diary of Anne Frank and the speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot and enjoy these books, and thank you very much.